What if I told you that some of the greatest treasures of the Roman Empire, vast hoards of gold, silver, and priceless relics, may not be gone at all, but are still lying hidden somewhere beneath our feet or deep in the waters of the Mediterranean? Imagine stumbling upon the wealth of emperors, the sacred menorah from the Temple of Jerusalem, or even the legendary treasure buried with the man who once brought Rome to its knees. These aren't just legends of fantasy. They're stories preserved in history, and some of them remain tantalizingly unresolved. The Roman Empire was the wealthiest, most powerful civilization of the ancient world. It conquered lands stretching from the Atlantic coast of Spain to the deserts of Mesopotamia, and from the icy rivers of Britain to the sun-scorched sands of Egypt. With each conquest came riches, the spoils of war, the tribute of provinces, the trade of goods that flowed endlessly into the heart of Rome. But what happened to all that wealth? Some of it built monuments, funded legions, and adorned the villas of emperors. Yet not all of Rome's treasures were accounted for. Some were stolen in invasions, some were hidden away by fleeing emperors or desperate generals. Some were swallowed by the sea, and others simply vanished from history. In this episode, we'll journey into the heart of these mysteries. Together, we'll uncover the scale of Rome's wealth, explore famous treasures that disappeared, dive into the sea to uncover shipwrecked fortunes, and finally, we'll chase the legend of Alaric, the barbarian king whose grave may still hold the lost treasure of Rome. The question before us is simple, but profound. Could some of Rome's greatest treasures still be out there, waiting to be discovered? When we talk about treasure in the Roman world, we are not simply speaking of a chest filled with gold coins. We are talking about the wealth of the greatest empire of the ancient world, accumulated over centuries of conquest, taxation, trade, and plunder. Rome was an empire that stretched from the deserts of Egypt to the misty highlands of Britain, and from the Atlantic coast of Spain to the rivers of Mesopotamia. With each conquest came spoils, precious metals stripped from temples, jewels taken from defeated kings, and slaves who themselves represented wealth in human form. The triumphal processions through Rome's streets were not only parades of victory, they were exhibitions of unimaginable riches. Wagons piled high with silver, golden statues dragged through the forum, and entire libraries of stolen manuscripts carried off to feed Rome's insatiable hunger for knowledge and glory. The empire's economy ran on this wealth. Massive coinage reforms in both the Republic and the Empire required staggering amounts of gold and silver, much of it flowing from newly conquered provinces or extracted from the vast mining operations Rome controlled in Spain, Gaul, and Dacia. But just as easily as treasure flowed into Rome, it could also vanish. Political instability, civil wars, and invasions constantly disrupted the empire's grip on its fortune. A rebellious general might loot a treasury, an emperor might secretly bury his personal wealth to keep it safe from rivals, or a caravan transporting pay for the legions might disappear into hostile lands. Consider also the personal fortunes of Roman elites. Families like the Julii, the Antonines, or the Severans controlled enormous private treasuries, accumulated over generations. When civil war toppled an emperor, much of that wealth disappeared with him. Some of it may have been melted down or redistributed, but other portions were concealed, hidden, or lost in the chaos. Rome's wealth was so vast that even today archaeologists continue to find hoards buried by Roman citizens during times of unrest, coins and jewelry stashed in the earth by people who never lived to return and reclaim them. Every discovery, whether it's a farmer plowing up a jar of denarii in rural Britain, or divers retrieving amphorae filled with trade goods from the bottom of the sea, reminds us of the sheer magnitude of Roman wealth and how much of it may still lie undiscovered beneath our feet or deep within the waters of the Mediterranean. Among the most tantalizing stories of Rome are those of specific treasures that disappeared without a trace, treasures so famous they became legends in their own right. Take, for example, the Aquila, the eagle standards of the Roman legions. These golden or silver topped standards were more than military symbols. They embodied the honor of Rome itself. When the legions of Varus were annihilated in the Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD, 3 eagles fell into Germanic hands. Recovering them became an obsession for Augustus and his successors. Over time, some were retrieved through diplomacy or force, but others remained lost, never to return to Rome. Even today, no one knows what became of them. Were they melted down, hidden in a chieftain's burial mound? Or do fragments of them still rest beneath the forest soil? Then there is the story of the Temple of Jerusalem's treasure, seized by Titus after the Jewish revolt in 70 AD. This was no ordinary booty. The sacred menorah, the trumpets, and countless vessels of gold were paraded in Rome in a triumphant display recorded on the Arch of Titus. But after this spectacle, the trail goes cold. Some claim the treasures were housed in the Temple of Peace in Rome, while others suggest they were transferred to Carthage or Constantinople. When the Vandals sacked Rome in 455, they supposedly carried these treasures away, only for them to vanish again into the mists of history. The question of their fate has tantalized scholars, adventurers, and even religious seekers for centuries. Nor can we forget the legendary hoards discovered, or rumored, in the provinces. In Gaul, Britannia, and Dacia, archaeologists have uncovered caches of coins, jewelry, and weapons deliberately buried during times of war. But what has been found likely represents only a fraction of what was hidden. Roman soldiers, merchants, and provincial elites often buried valuables in times of invasion, hoping to retrieve them later. Many never had the chance. Each new discovery stirs speculation. If this hoard survived, how many more remain undiscovered? The lost treasures of Rome are not just objects of material wealth. They are fragments of history, whose disappearance reshaped the narrative of empires. They spark questions not only about where they ended up, but about the stories they could tell if ever recovered. The Mediterranean was Rome's lifeline, the highway of trade and conquest, but it was also perilous. Storms, piracy, and navigation errors sent countless Roman ships to the sea floor, and with them often went treasure. Archaeologists have found wrecks carrying amphorae of wine, olive oil, and grain, everyday commodities of Roman life. But more intriguing are the wrecks that hint at far greater riches. Cargoes of bronze statues, ingots of precious metal, and crates of luxury goods, bound for imperial palaces, have been discovered preserved beneath centuries of sand and seawater. One of the most famous examples is the Antikythera shipwreck, dated to the 1st century BC, which contained bronze statues, marble sculptures, and the mysterious Antikythera mechanism. Though this ship likely carried Greek treasures, being transported to Rome, it illustrates the kind of wealth that could vanish into the sea. Other wrecks discovered off Spain, Italy, and Tunisia reveal similar stories. Ships overloaded with goods that never reached their destination. For every ship uncovered, hundreds more likely remain undisturbed. The logistics of empire required constant transport of wealth. Soldiers on distant frontiers needed pay, governors needed resources, and Rome itself demanded tribute. Ships sailed constantly with holds heavy with coin, bullion, and spoils. A single storm could erase fortunes from the record, leaving them buried beneath waves for millennia. Modern technology, sonar, diving equipment, and robotic exploration has only begun to scratch the surface of what lies beneath the sea. Many believe that some of Rome's greatest lost treasures still rest in these underwater graves. But the romance of shipwrecked treasure lies not only in gold and silver. There is cultural treasure as well. statues intended to adorn imperial villas, libraries of scrolls sealed within amphorae, objects that could transform our understanding of Roman life if recovered intact. Each discovery is a window into a lost moment of history, frozen at the instant the ship went down. And if we consider the scale of Roman maritime activity, it becomes almost certain that there are still ships lying in the depths that carried not just cargo, but treasures meant for emperors, temples, or triumphal displays in the heart of Rome. Of all the tales of lost Roman treasure, none is more mysterious or more evocative than that of Alaric, king of the Visigoths. In 410 AD, Rome suffered what was once thought impossible. The Eternal City was sacked. Alaric's forces plundered for 3 days, stripping the city of gold, silver, and sacred relics accumulated over centuries. But what became of that immense fortune? According to legend, much of it followed Alaric to his grave. The story goes that when Alaric died suddenly in southern Italy, his followers determined to bury him with honor and with the treasures of Rome. They supposedly diverted the waters of the river Bizento, creating a temporary dry bed in which they dug the king's tomb. Into this chamber they placed Alaric, along with vast quantities of loot, coins, jewelry, and sacred objects seized from the Eternal City. Then, to conceal the site forever, they redirected the river back over the burial, erasing all trace of the work. To ensure no one could reveal the location, the laborers who helped construct the tomb were executed. This chilling legend has haunted historians and treasure seekers for centuries. In Calabria, where the river Bizento still flows, stories persist that somewhere beneath its waters lies the lost wealth of Rome, buried with the man who humbled the empire. Attempts have been made to search for the tomb, but none have succeeded. Some dismiss it as mere myth, a tale concocted to dramatize the fall of Rome. Yet others believe there may be truth behind it. The Goths had reason to safeguard their plunder, and Alaric's sudden death would have provided the perfect opportunity to tie his legacy to the spoils of empire. What is certain is that after the sack of 410, much of Rome's treasure disappeared from the historical record. Whether it was dispersed among the Goths, carried further into Europe, or sealed beneath the waters of the Bizento, remains a mystery. If the legend is true, then somewhere in southern Italy lies one of the greatest undiscovered treasures in history, an emperor's ransom in gold, hidden for over 600 years. The allure of lost Roman treasure lies not only in the gold and jewels, but in the possibility of discovery. For centuries, treasure hunters, archaeologists, and dreamers have scoured fields, mountains, and seabeds, hoping to stumble upon a fortune hidden since antiquity. And time and again, reality proves stranger than imagination. Farmers tilling soil in rural Britain have unearthed Roman coin hoards containing thousands of silver denarii. Divers off the coast of Italy have found cargoes of statues preserved in remarkable condition. Entire villas have been uncovered, revealing mosaics and artifacts buried for centuries beneath volcanic ash or shifting earth. Yet these finds, extraordinary as they are, only sharpen the mystery. They prove that vast amounts of Roman wealth were concealed, lost, or forgotten, and they suggest that much more remains hidden. Every lost legionary payroll, every plundered temple treasure, every noble's secret hoard is a potential discovery waiting in the ground or under the sea. The Roman world was vast, and so too is the number of places where treasures might lie: in the forests of Germany, in the deserts of North Africa, in the depths of the Black Sea, or in the mountains of the Balkans. Historians and archaeologists are cautious, of course. For every genuine hoard there are countless legends, exaggerated by time and imagination. Yet the persistence of these stories reflects something real. Rome's wealth was on a scale that defies easy comprehension. When an empire of this magnitude collapses, it is inevitable that much of its treasure scatters, disappears, or remains undiscovered. And so, when we speak of the lost treasures of Rome, we are not merely indulging in fantasy. We are acknowledging that in the soil of Europe and beyond, in riverbeds and seabeds, there are still remnants of the empire's riches waiting for the day they return to light. So where are Rome's lost treasures? Scattered across the empire, some buried in fields, others lying in forgotten tombs, others swallowed by the sea. Each discovery we make, a coin hoard in Britain, a wreck in the Mediterranean, a relic hidden in a forgotten temple, reminds us that the story isn't finished. Rome's treasures are more than glittering gold. They are the remnants of an empire that once ruled the known world. They are clues to our shared history, waiting to be rediscovered. And perhaps, somewhere out there, beneath soil, stone, or water, the next great discovery is still waiting. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of Rome's lost treasures, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Empire Remembered, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story from the ancient world. And let me know in the comments, if you could choose one Roman treasure to discover, what would it be?